Councilwoman Hawkins, thank you so much for allowing me into your home so I can sit down and have a conversation with you about this upcoming election and your vision and your priorities.
You are welcome. Thank you for allowing me to share a bit more with the people of Winterville and beyond.
Yeah. So let's start with an icebreaker. So what is one thing about you that would surprise the people who only know you as Councilwoman Hawkins?
I think one thing that would surprise people is that I am a poet. I love to write poetry. I can write poetry on a whim, any topic. I love poetry. And then I'm also um, good at landscaping.
Okay. So you cut grass.
Cut grass, weed, cut tree limbs, but I can't cut trees. I'm working on that.
But you could do a mean lawn.
I can do a mean lawn.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Where did your inspirations come from to run for the election for the Winterville Council? Where did that desire come from?
The desire to run and be part of the town council is because I am a citizen of Winterville, and I believe that I resonate the voices, which was also my voice, having topics, concerns, ideas, suggestions that I shared with some of the town council. Some was listened to, and others just went in one ear and out the other. And so I believe that if I was part of that council, I would have the ear to not only hear, but to listen to the people of Winterville.
So what were those things that you saw in the community that you wanted to, make a difference in?
So initially, about close to 15 years ago, the spark for actually coming to the town council and being a part of the conversation is when hours for the Winterville Library was being considered to be cut to save money. I felt like this would jeopardize literacy. It would jeopardize opportunities for families who cannot go outside of Winterville. So I went and I spoke before public comment. And my reasons for keeping the Winterville Library hours the same was listened to, and they reconsidered and had a vote right then. I knew at that time that a voice can make a difference. Second, I was pulled over in my carport by the Winterville police. About, about 13 years ago, around that same time, I had to drive my vehicle for the light to go out in order for it to get an inspection that would pass. When trying to explain this, the Winterville police did not listen, ultimately taking the ticket, which I received with my 3 children in a vehicle, which got them very, very afraid. I went to the Pitt County Courthouse. Ticket was immediately dismissed, and I spoke to public comment in that sense. And those are 2 things that prompted me to speak.
Thank you for sharing that
Yes.
with us. And I know that you have personally placed about 70 items on the council agenda in just 2 years. Which of those things stand out to you the most as being the most impactful for Winterville?
Without a shadow of a doubt, having the always stop signs, that is to public safety. There were tons of car accidents at these intersections, Boyd and Mill Street and Vernon White and Old Tar Road. That was one of the most impactful things that I did. It was sort of a struggle to get in both instances, but ultimately NCDOT understood that I was not going to take no for an answer. Another item on the agenda that is very important to me that I continue to bring up is town-based transportation, because we have a lot of people in Winterville who cannot drive, be it they're underage, disabled, elderly, or just not at the capacity. This is something that I continue to put on the agenda, and I will continue to.
So, just for clarification for people that may not understand, placing something on the agenda items, meaning you put it up there to bring it to the council during the meeting so you can speak about it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So each month, council members are given a target date to place items on the agenda. What would you like to speak about? What the discussion will be. Other than some of the other items or formalities, we have that opportunity. I have met every deadline with putting at least 3 to 4 items on the agenda because it's very essential and important. And if I think about all of the items that I put, they're literally from almost A through Z.
Yeah.
But it is prioritizing the people here in Winterville. So I meet the deadlines, I put it on there, and I have the opportunity to speak, have conversation with the council to get things put in place or not. If it is voted down or I don't get a second motion, I ultimately bring it back up.
I know that you have pushed for, the always stop signs in Winterville, and I believe there's two places in Winterville, as well as fair housing and the citizen complaint form that you push so hard for. Why are these things so important for you? And do you believe that they made a difference for the people that live in Winterville?
Yes, so I'll start with the citizen complaint form. The citizen complaint form was dormant for close to 20 years. The reason why I wanted it to be reactivated is to help protect constitutional rights of those here in Winterville who have interactions with our law enforcement. It then also protects our law enforcement. It is a process to which if citizens have a complaint about the interaction, that they fill out the form, it is then processed by the lieutenant here in Winterville, and then they have their findings. This is something that brings balance to what is needed in terms of checks and balances and oversight of everyday interactions. I am pleased that this complaint form is now on the Town of Winterville website, and it gives everyone, our law enforcement, those who had interactions with our officers who didn't deem it of a good nature, it is then a transparent way for everyone to check. Next, fair housing, or better known as affordable housing, is something that I have placed onto the agenda several times. Why is this important? We have lots of growth here in Winterville. The growth comes in, but we have to take care of the citizens who live here. When developers come in, I am asking that there is some sort of incentive given or a variation in pricing of homes. Winterville is known as the slice of a good life. I want to ensure that affordable housing, fair housing, which is the law, is at an equal slice, not a sliver or a crumb. And until we get that, I am going to continue to put that. One thing about both of those items is that while we're growing in Winterville economically and we're growing in interactions, I want us to be growing in terms of relating to each other and understanding each other from one another's perspective. There's a quote that says, "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." This is the reason why I put both of those on the agenda and why those are very important to me.
So, in the next part, we're going to touch in more about accountabilities and community concerns. We know that flooding has been a major problem in Winterville, and a lot of citizens are really concerned about that. What steps have you taken this far to address it?
Thank you for that question. That is so imperative to many, many residents, especially with the development. More people coming in puts pressure on the infrastructure. I was the first council person to request a tour of the water sewer systems. These systems run from Winterville through Grifton. It was very important for me to see how they run, how they flow, and meet the people who are actually in charge of this, how they change it out, how they monitor it. It was very important. This way, I can give feedback to the residents to say, it's going to get better, but that I've actually firsthand looked at it. And I could say there is a need for adjustments in the infrastructure because, again, more people, more pressure. So we have to make adjustments accordingly. What I will do if reelected is to actually go to the meetings where they have monthly or quarterly meetings with regards to infrastructure. This has been primarily for the town manager and different managers in and around this area. I am going to ask that I be present so that I can hear firsthand what are the next steps, what are the plans, because if we're continuing to grow, then we need to upgrade the water sewer systems so that it can help everyone.
When it comes to property taxes in Winterville, that also remains a huge concern for residents as well. What factors are driving these rates?
Mhm.
And what are the steps you are taking to ease the burdens on homeowners?
Yes, so the property taxes are a key issue at this time. And it's not just Winterville, it's countywide, statewide, and countrywide. But I'm going to focus right here in our town. The property rates were increased last year based on state and county governance of it. And it was a suggested rate of 4.75, 475. We discussed it and we settled at a rate of 45. Does that hurt the people? Yes, it does. Does that affect me? Yes, it does. The core reason for agreeing with the property tax is because it was said that the general fund is unbalanced and that it has been unbalanced for decades. Like it has been unbalanced. But last year, it was decided, hey, we need to do something. Was that the right time? Maybe, maybe not. Um, what I have done is I have refused to vote for an increase in utility bills. So we raise the property taxes and then we also raise utilities based on electric and sewer. This is unacceptable to me. If you're against property tax, then you should be against the utility rates because it hurts both. If you voted for property tax, then how do you give some leeway? And so this is a balance that I did and that I take accountability for. But the main other reason why I voted for the increase, which was lower than suggested and approved by the town, was because some of the monies would be going directly to the establishment of the multi-purpose center, which has been in discussion for close to 20 years. I made it clear that I wanted to see some of these monies go to the multi-purpose center. That is why I voted for the property tax, but that is also why I will and continue to refuse for utility increases that in fact affect us every day as well.
Transportation And I'm glad you talked about the multi-purpose center because we can just flow right into it. So, transportation and the multi-purpose center are projects that you push for since you have been in office. If reelected, how do you see these things developing?
With all of the business going on in Winterville, new properties, developers coming in, properties being bought, we have got to invest. We have got to put the scope of focus on the people. How do we get the multi-purpose community recreation center established? By putting people first and their needs. Why are we continuing to purchase property here, there, and everywhere when we have a designated property? We just need to get McGill and Associates, the company that have been designated to solidify the plan, to come back into Winterville, talk to more of the people, find out what that looks like, do the architectural plan, go ahead and do whatever they have an expertise in. I will be staying on them like white on rice. Why? Because talking about it 20 years has gone nowhere. Talk is not doing anything. Action is intentional action on people being prioritized. We had $25,000 set aside since I've been on the board. I continuously ask about what's happening with it. We don't want any leeway or lax. We want things working and moving. That's the multi-purpose center, and I will continue to do that. So, in terms of town based transportation, Snow Hill has town based transportation. Winterville can have it as well. While we are surrounded by Aden and Greenville, we need transportation. We are considered a small city, while other small towns are not. What I have been focused on is getting a reputable transportation system like the Great Bus to come where they go to Pitt Community College to extend their route for a few stops, going to the most common places here in Winterville. I have contacted the Great Bus, and between the Great Bus and the town manager here in Winterville, she told me that it would be an enormous amount of money to get these extra stops. I say that that amount of money is worth the trip. It is worth the trip because we won't have any more fatalities. We had a fatality last year. A young man was hit and killed. They never solved it. We want town based transportation for safety and for people who cannot drive to get to Food Lion for Food, a Dollar General, Family Dollar, the post office. The route would just be extended to those four places. Now, while it seems like it is a lot more money, what is the cost against purchasing more properties, letting more developers coming, putting strain on the infrastructure? Speaking of economic growth, but the people here cannot get around who do not drive. That is why this issue is so important to me.
Public safety and community policing are something that comes up a lot for you. Now, what concrete steps would you continue if voters send you back to the council to make those areas better?
So I will continue what I started. Initially, when I was elected, I went in the very next week to meet with the chief of police. He and I sat down. I said, I would love to be a conduit between the people of Winterville who need to know the our law enforcement better, as well as our law enforcement who need to get to know the people. I was told that that meeting will not happen without approval from the town manager. We are still awaiting the approval. And while we had a town hall, I have never had the opportunity to sit down with the police officers. I have asked several times to do this. If elected, I would love to continue this most important meeting. Me getting to know our law enforcement helps me to be that conduit. But if I can't even get to step one, how are we collectively going to be in a town building better relationships? I also attended Coffee with a Cop. I attended a field trip where the police guided me around and to show how different factors happen once an arrest is made or before an arrest is made. I've advocated for a ride along as well as the complaint form. It is very important that I send the message, if reelected, that I am not anti police, but I am for purposeful policing. This comes with transparency and accountability. This is a must for public safety. And so I will continue to do this. And it is my hopes that I will get that meeting. Chief Williams and I have spoken about different ways in which he will become more intricate in the community. But he needs a conduit. That conduit is me.
What are your top priorities for Winterville?
My very top priority is public voice. The people of Winterville have a voice. Behind every vote is a person and a voice. The public needs to know that they can ask questions, they can come in and be present, they can give their ideas, suggestions. They have a voice. I am going to help them merge into utilizing their voice. And if they don't, I will continue to be their strong voice. But that is first. Why is that important? It is important because A.G. Cox, which is one of the founders of Winterville, said, "A town is of its people." And I believe that the people are at the top of this organization. So, public voice, public safety, I will continue to speak for any streets, areas that are not safe to ensure that our citizens from the age of 1 to 100 are safe here. Public safety also goes beyond just driving. That has to do with building better relationships with our law enforcement. This is a two-way street, and one mustn't give up on it. One mustn't say, "Hey, she thinks this way, so we're going to lock it in that way." Or they believe this way, so we're going to lock it in this way. We are a community, and together we can and must do better. And my third priority is getting the community center, recreation center, multi-purpose center finally established. As you can see, over the 20 years, the names have transitioned. We are currently at it being a multi-purpose center. I will be very intentional when reelected to stay in close contact and communication with the Director of Parks and Recreation as well as the town manager. It is imperative that this growing town of probably at 11,000 at this time have a community center where the community can go and commune and have events without having to pay a fee. It will also be an established place for education. Sometime we might want to go and have a reading group, or we might want to have some talent there. There is no more delays in getting that done, and I am the person that will make it happen.
You've been a strong voice for small businesses and trade skills. Why is this such a priority for you?
While we have a Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce is there to help support small businesses. I have found that this is moving in the right direction. However, it needs to be fine-tuned to help support our small Black businesses as well. Small Black businesses need to be included and intertwined more. They are paying the same taxes and they have the same goals. Having that will also ensure an equal slice of a good life. That is not to say I'm excluding other small businesses. But if you look at statistics across the country, In the state and county, small Black businesses suffer the most in terms of getting support and being established long term. I have also been in close contact with Pitt Community College because we know sometimes trades can spawn or foster a lifelong career. Trades such as esthetician, nail technician, barbershop, and natural hair can help our children, our future leaders, as well as someone my age or older establish a business here in Winterville to invest back in the town where we are. Pitt Community College is part of Winterville. There should be no reason why we have to go to neighboring counties, which all offer these programs. I have met with the director of business. I have met with her department several times. When reelected, I will be scheduling a meeting with the president of Pitt Community College, Dr. Farr. While they have an outlook of about 2 years to get some of these programs started, my daughter and I had a sit down with Pitt Community College back in 2024. They told us 2 years then. So 2 years then and 2 years now is almost 4 years. It's 3.5 years. I would like something to move sooner so that we are not citizens living here, but have to go and invest in other counties. We want to bring it back to Winterville where it should be.
You chair the Winterville Human Relations Board. How does this role shape the way you serve on the council?
So truly, I believe that every council person should have a part in the Human Relations Board. They should be on it because at the core of serving people is human relations and speaking for people and making decisions for people. You should have a connection with human relations. This has shaped me in understanding from the inside what is important, going out and into the community. It has shaped me to know that leadership is not just being in charge, leadership is being in service. Going and standing with and talking with and providing items and supportive things to the community is what being part of the Human Relations Board has helped me in my role as town council.
When Winterville residents look back on your time as councilwoman, what do you hope they'll remember you for?
I hope that they remember me for listening to them and speaking for them, remembering me as the strong voice and the right choice. This is not just cliche. This is what I mean. This is not a game to me. I really truly believe that representing the people means speaking for them. Representing them means being less reluctant in the face of any obstacle, being the strong voice, celebrating with them and for them on their behalf. I want them to remember that I spoke and I identified things that were never identified before. And in 2 years, I've done more than most council currently or historically. Just because I listened, I looked, I saw, and I spoke to things that were needed. They will remember that I valued their voice. And although I was speaking on their behalf, I know that they are important. They will remember that I understood that I am a citizen and a resident right along with them. That is what I want them to remember me by. Early voting begins October 16th through November 1st. And election day, of course, is November 4th. During early voting, you have an opportunity to just go in and be registered and vote. On election day, if there is anything that is not aligned, you will not be able to vote. So it will behoove all of us to encourage us to go out and vote during early voting. I say strong voice, strong votes. Come out and vote for Shantel Hawkins, the strong voice for you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Hawkins, for your time today. And this was awesome.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.